talk about today a difficult subject. All right, as we kind of look at the world right now, it's definitely different than a few years ago, I would say, right? And we're watching the news, the markets being very volatile. The economy world seems to be turning to not to good, but to worse, right? There's human destruction, unimaginable cruelty, war, new possibility of more wars with Taiwan and China that everybody's been talking about, on edge. And even possible fuel, and they're talking about even food shortages, and there's food shortages in different parts of the world. It's a very volatile world, and unfortunately, as my ministry, I work with people that are deaf and dying, and they're in a difficult place in their life with their families, as well as going to psychiatric hospitals and doing services there and seeing the brokenness of human beings. And so it's been on my heart, right, to try to figure out how to help these individuals, how to give them hope, how somehow to get them to stand up. But knowing this, I also realized in the last few years, because of COVID, because of all the things that are happening, right, I've seen more people currently having mental instability, breakdowns, problems with their mental health, more than before. As I listen to youth pastors talking about kids coming up to them and talking more and more about depression, and not just regular depression, but severe depression. And this is not just happening with teens, but with us, with adults in the Christian church. There's more cases of extreme anxiety and fear, stress and despair, suicidal ideation, and high levels of alcohol and drug use. And it's interesting because I see this aspect and see the pain and struggle, but then it's kind of strange because I see the opposite in certain people, right? And others step into the current situation, the same situation, and seem to have they seem to step up into the situation. They're able to optimize whatever circumstance gives their way. They're more capable, more courageous, and they succeed when everything seems against them, and they achieve and create and inspire and move forward. And why such extreme response to the same circumstance? Right? Well, why the extreme response? I'm sure you want to be number two. Right? I'm sure you want to be number two. And my heart goes to the people in the first category. And I believe that one of the major trait and the characteristics of your mental state is resilience, right? Resilience. And I was looking up, I always like the definition, want to figure out exactly what the word means. And it's the capacity to recover quickly from difficult toughness, the ability of have a substance or an object to spring back into shape, elasticity, capable of bouncing back or returning back to original form. Right? It's this aspect of resilience, and you see this part, no matter what happens, no matter what trouble comes their way, they're able to somehow get back. They're able to stand back up. Another characteristic is grit. I read a book by Angela Duckworth called Grit, and it talks about this passion of long-term goals, this extensive study on it, and it basically means that they have this ability to be resilient in any adversity. In anything, they have this toughness that just seems to be inhuman, right? And also the challenge of faith. There's a process and structure to build these characters and traits in our internal persona. A lot of people turn to God to avoid substances that would require resilience, right? We like to find the easier way, right? And I think a lot of people come to God to say, you know, God's in charge and my life is going to be perfect once I become a Christian. And we believe that if we believe in God, we can avoid the most difficult life and more challenging life, and less stress and more stability in our lives, and avoid pain and struggle and disappointment. And after all, isn't what giving life, your life to Christ promises? But if you've been a Christian for about 10 minutes or more, you know that's not true, right? Because we all have struggles. We go through some difficult things. So let me be truthful here. Let me talk truth. The people that believe in God have the same problems as the people who don't believe in God, right? The same internal struggles, the same external struggles. And when we have faith, we are faced with problems, and most people just say, well, just believe in God, right? Isn't that when you're going through trouble and you call your Christian buddy and they're like, you just have to believe in God to have more faith? And you say, you know what, that sounds great. That's really good. But fail to explain the process, the structure that God is letting us experience. See, we kind of don't walk through a process and the struggle. We kind of just, it's easy to say, you know what, you should just have faith more, right? We kind of don't step into help. And there are people who believe in God and Jesus and the Bible, but are shattered at their core of their being. And they don't understand the process and the structure. They don't accept it of getting where you need to be and how to grow in resilience. And so I want you guys to open Proverbs 24:16. You guys can put it up. I love this part of Proverbs because there's different sayings, right? This is saying number 27 from Solomon, and he starts off in verse 15. Do not lurk like a thief under the house of the righteous. Do not plunder their dwelling place. I'm going to focus on number 16. For the righteous falls 7 times and they'll rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. I know when you're looking at this about the righteous part, I know we're really focusing on getting up. Am I right? Kind of go over that part. You know, we kind of not see the fact that they fall. And it's kind of shocking. What do you mean the righteous fall? And it gets worse. Right? It gets worse because in Scripture, numbers mean something. Number 7 has a meaning. It has completion. But it also means unending. Right? It also means the fact that it could happen infinite capacity. At an infinite capacity. So if you are righteous, you will fall. And follow, and follow, and fall, and fall, and fall, and fall. That's the hard part. You have to realize that if you are righteous, your life is falling. Your life will be falling. Your life will be a failure over and over and over again. That kind of gives me hope. I'm a little weird at that, right? It gives you a little hope. Because when I was a new Christian, I always thought that if I fell, there was something wrong with me. If everything was going okay, I was right with the Lord, right? And as soon as I fell, I would question everything of my being, every part of faith that I had, you know. And I had to realize that it was the wrong story of my life. And I had to change that story. Because there is an aspect when you fall. There is an aspect when you fall. Because the differential is 1. The differential is 1. You just have to get up one more time. One more time. At the times you fell. Just one more time than the number of times you fell. I know sometimes we look at God and I remember the commercial with the medical alarm system, right? And the old lady falls in the bathroom and she says, hits her little button and says, "I've fallen and I can't get up," right? You guys ever see that one? Yeah. And I think it's funny in a way because we all know it. There's probably memes out there, I've fallen, I can't get up everywhere, right? But it's kind of funny because when we fall, a lot of times, even though we could get up, we think that we could press this button to God and talk to him and say, "I've fallen, I can't get up." Just get up. Just stand up in your life. A lot of times I feel that brokenness, the fact that we don't stand up. We kind of give up. And the first part of the people that I know that they lost their faith. I know that they don't see hope. And they don't see any reason to stand back up. I know I was at one of the psychiatric hospitals and I met a boxing trainer. It was kind of cool. Old guy from Brooklyn, really tough guy. I loved that he had like a gold tooth and he had a little chain with the little golden gloves right here. And he talked about what a great fighter he was when he was younger and that he was golden gloves. And he started naming all these really high-end, really tough boxers that he trained. He was even telling me some moves. He's like, when they go, he's like, the best thing to do is step to the side. I still remember that, step to the side, right? And change your position. So that's the best thing you could do in a fight. But as I listened to him, he told me his story of how he tried to kill himself. Told me his story of how he got robbed, of how his health went bad and he lost hope and he tried to take his life. And now he was at the psychiatric hospital and I was talking to him. And I remember telling him, "You just got to get up, right? You just got to get up." And I finally remembered the best example I could give him. I said, "Rocky, dude, Rocky. Everybody knows Rocky, right? No matter how many times he got hit, he got back up. It was more ridiculous because it looked like he got hit like 20,000 times in the movie, right? And he would just bounce back up." And I said, and it's funny because the Rocky movies were on today, and we were watching the second part of Rocky. When they're both fighting, and it's the 15th round, of course, it's a movie. And at the last possible point, they both knock themselves out. And the guy starts counting 1, 2, 3, right? And one guy gets up, and one guy does not. And I said, "Get up." Of course, I started singing the theme song, dun, 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 whatever I was. And, I'm in a crazy house, so everybody started singing it with me, right? But we need to get up. We need to stand up when trouble comes. In James chapter 1, verse 2 and 4, I love this. James says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters." Now I was thinking, James, you're insane. What do you mean joy? Joy of trouble? Joy of failure, of brokenness, of sickness, of calamity? Consider it joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. You know. I love that word, you know. Do we really know? Do we really know that? That it is a process, it is a structure that God is trying to get you through. It is a testing of your faith. And I was always bad at tests. I don't know about you, but I was always bad at tests. I was always the last guy to finish a test. I took forever to read the question because I would read it really fast and then I would stop and say, let me read it really, really, really slow. Let me look at A, B, C, D, and E, right? And I would start, well, A and B doesn't work, but it has to be B and C and D, right? C, D, and E. And then I would put in my thing and a few questions down, I would fortunately go back, right? And say, well, maybe I got it wrong, right? And I was always do really bad on tests and I would get super nervous and you know, I failed all kinds of tests. I got through all kinds of tests, but also through perseverance passed the tests. See, the key word is testing your faith, moving forward, resilience, endurance, and perseverance. And God tests us. And you know, I know He doesn't want you to fail the test. And we think he wants us to have an A, and you know, we don't understand the process, we don't understand the structure, and God sometimes even gives us the answer and we still fail. Have you ever had a class like that? I had a class like that. I had a science class. Now, my teacher was nuts, and he was a bartender at night, and he would come in our class and sleep, and he would give us all the answers to the test. And he would give us an open book test. And he would even fill out the homework answers on the board. But people still fail the class. Right? People still fail the class. And this is the human experience, is no matter, even if God gives you the answer, we still fail. Because we don't understand the process. We don't understand the structure that God is looking for. And He doesn't want you to have an A. He wants you to be the A. Faith equals problems. And I know a lot of us prayed, God, give me more faith. That probably means, Lord, give me a huge problem. A lot of times I'm thinking, give me just really tiny faith. Really, really tiny faith, Lord. Right? Because there is a process. There is a process. The fact that if we want to have faith, God will put you and test you in faith. And every single person in history, in the Bible, tested their faith. God brought them to a process of testing their faith, including Christ, in the desert for 40 days. There's that aspect where if you want to be pure gold, God will put you in a crucible and slowly turn up the fire. And some things will definitely go wrong in your life. And you will fail and you will fall. And sickness and calamity will come your way. And you will lose more than you will win. But God is putting you through a process, and your faith cannot fail. It must succeed by continuing to stand up, being strong. And I want to go back to Genesis chapter 32, 22 to 31. You see Jacob kind of being, knowing that he has to meet his brother, and that his brother has an army, and that he took his birthright. Right? He stole it. He lied for it. And he robbed his brother of his blessing, knowing that his brother's probably going to kill him, and so he sent all his riches across, and all his servants, and all his wives and children on the other side of the Jordan by himself. And there he met a man, and he wrestled all night. And this man beat the living daylights out of him, right? And dislocated his hip. But Jacob still held on and he fought. And he asked for his blessing, and he asked, "Who is your name?" And God changed his name there from Jacob to Israel, wrestled with God and man and won. See, it's hard because we all want the name Israel. But Israel, the name of Israel was earned. Through toil, through brokenness. And in the morning, he was a happy man, barely walking on a stick, reminding himself of that battle all his life, until he was old, still limping, knowing that he had a meeting with God. He didn't take the easy road. He took the hard road. He could have let God go, but he held on for his blessing until the morning. I want to go to the last part of Philippians 2, 1 through 11. If we can open the Bible there. Give me a moment while I find it. Therefore, if you have any encouragement for being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, and any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete of being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and one in mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather in humility value others above yourself, not looking of your own intents, but each of you in the interests of others, in your relationship with one another, having the same mindset as in Christ. And I want you to listen to these verses. Who, being the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by making the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in the appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, and even death on the cross. I was looking at the aspect of joy, and I mentioned that as a characteristic, and humility. As I was looking up, the term humility comes from the Latin word humilitas, and noun related to humilis, which is of course it's humble, but it's also grounded. And it means from the earth, dirty with earth. I love that, humility, but humans are made out of dirt. Right? God made us out of dirt. God breathed life into dirt. And so God made himself like dirt and humbled himself and dirtied himself. And it's interesting that a humble man, you can't knock him down because he's already down, right? He's already way to the ground. But you could definitely take down a proud man, because he's not only standing up, but he's trying to stand above everybody else. And see, when a king has a cup, and by mistake he hits it, he always blames somebody else, right? Hey, servant, why'd you put this cup here? Right? Clean it up. And you'll notice that humble people are the ones that fix the problems, that clean it up. And usually the arrogant, the proud, the ones that feel like they're owed, right? They blame everybody else. They blame themselves. They blame circumstances. They blame life. They expect the government to pay their bills, right? They expect that they're owed, right? And they have a little chip on their shoulder. And Jesus had every right to come here on earth and say, hey, listen, you know why humanity has problems? It's you. You're the problem. You're the one that caused all the problems. It's interesting that Jesus didn't come to come before us and say, and point a finger at us and say, it's your fault. Right? He humbled himself as a servant, and he served us. And he solved the problem of humanity on the cross. See, I love Philippians 2 because we have to have the mind of Christ. He had this resilience. He had this toughness in him that couldn't be broken. The Romans, the Jews, the high priests, he took the beatings and he never gave up his faith. He never surrendered. He had this resilience and grit inside of him, and so he was still joyous and humble in so many ways. And he paid our penalty on the cross for us. See, you can fail, you can fall, you can lose. But instead of blaming everyone else, or yourselves, or others, or God, or circumstances, or the country, or the president, or every possible thing that you can put your blame on, you miss the opportunity to stand up. Because we could always stand up. We have the opportunity to take the rougher road, not the easy one. We have the opportunity to be courageous. We have the opportunity to succeed where others failed. We have the opportunity to do all these things. We have the opportunity to have faith and pick God and walk with God. Hey, you know what? It is hard. Life is not fair. And it's going to hit you sideways. And when the doctor tells you you have cancer, it's going to be a surprise. And when the market fails and you lose all the money, it's going to be a surprise. And when there's brokenness and destruction coming upon you, it's going to be a surprise. And when you fall, you have the opportunity to stand. You have the opportunity to get back up. Just one more time. Just one more time. And I'm so brokenhearted to see people every single day that have lost hope and are not willing to stand up. See, I know maybe you're dealing with depression, but you have the opportunity to stand up and stand and know that there is hope, that God is with you, that God is for you. I love Isaiah 40. It says, "Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord. My cause is disregarded by my God. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator at the end of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary. In his understanding, no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary. He increases the power of the weak. Even the youth grow tired and weary, but the young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar like wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." See, I'm asking you to have faith in God, to stand back up and not give up, to continue to fight no matter what life throws at you, to understand that there is a process and a structure, and that you may have resilience, knowing that God can do all things, that God is for you and with you. And even though that you're struggling and maybe you don't see God suddenly stepping into your life, suddenly make himself real and letting you go through the most difficult part of your life, to know that he's with you. that there is a reason why you're going through this. Stand up when you fall. Stand up and know that God is with you and for you. Amen.
Amen.